Hello friends, welcome back to another October Daily Process video. In today's video, I am going to be putting together story number 11 for my 2022 album. This time I pulled out a design prompt of texture, and if you haven't seen any of my videos thus far, every day I pull out a prompt from a jar that helps me determine the focal point or the main design element for my page that day. It's been a really fun way to play around with different ideas, to get out of my comfort zone, to keep things interesting, and it's definitely something I really look forward to, pulling the prompt out and then figuring out how I'm going to translate that into telling whatever the story is for the day. So for this one, we're working with texture. Now, I am creating my album this year in two children's repurposed books, hardcover books, and they're going to be spiral bound. The thing with that is I have to try to keep things a little more flat this year than I have in the past. I usually go fully dimensional and end up with way too many albums for this one project. So this year I'm trying to really keep a watchful eye on how much dimension is going into my layouts so I can keep my project itself on the more manageable, thinner side. So that being said, texture can go a lot of different ways. You can put texture on a page by having a lot of stuff on the page. You can do texture paste or adding a little bit more bulk to it. You can put different material types like metal or cork or all of these things that add a lot of texture to a page. Since I am trying to keep things thinner and not adding a bunch of stuff, I decided to use paint as my medium to create texture on my page through some leaf prints. So the story for story number 11 is about playing in the backyard with my daughter. We created a game the other day. It was so much fun. It was way harder than you think. And it was whenever the wind blew the leaves off of the tree, we would run around the yard trying to catch them before they fell to the ground. And we really were not very good at this game. So it ended with us just kind of like laying around on the backyard lawn and laughing and just having a good time. So to tell this story, I decided to bring into the house some of the leaves that we caught and to use those in order to create some paint prints for my background paper. Although this doesn't create texture in the sense of like, you won't necessarily be able to feel the page and feel a lot of texture there, although paint does have a texture of its own, acrylic paint does. So there is some actual texture that you can feel on the page, but it's not quite the same as adding something like texture paste where it's really raised and bumpy and that sort of thing. But the way that the prints look, because they are prints of these leaves, they have this look of the texture of the leaf itself. So to me, that totally counted as texture. That's just my long story, my long way of telling you that I am putting texture on the page today by making leaf prints with acrylic paint and leaves from outside. So how to do this? I am not an expert on anything to do with anything mixed media. I did look up a tutorial though when I was searching for different ideas for how to put texture on a page and saw something similar to this just as like a art project you could do with kids. And I thought, why can't I do that for my scrapbook project? What I did is I added some acrylic paint into a palette here, and then I watered it down quite a bit because I wanted the prints themselves to have some spots that don't necessarily get painted down. I wanted there to be the texture in the print itself. So after watering it down, I painted it onto the underside of the leaf. That's where you're going to get the most texture on the leaf. And then because I felt like it was still a little too thick on the leaf itself, I took a piece of paper towel and just dabbed it a little bit to pull some of that paint off, and then stuck it down onto my cardstock that I'm using to tell this story. Because I didn't want to get my hands all messy and the table all messy, I also took a piece of that same paper towel, laid it on top of the leaf, and pressed it down from there. So that way I could keep my space as clean as possible. I pulled a couple of different leaves. I had some that were bigger, some that were skinnier. This one here where there's multiple leaves on one stem I thought was really cool. And I tried to do my best to mimic the colors of the leaves themselves. So the green one at the top was an actual leaf that was green when I caught it, right? The next one was red. The next one was yellow. At the bottom, I had another red and another yellow. And I forget if there was another green or what that other one was, because I can't see it right now. I have my recording thing message. It covers it up so I can't see it. Anyways, I tried to mimic the colors is what I'm trying to say. And the yellowish one that I did at the end, I did a bit more brown because I wanted to have more color variation. Actually, yes, it's yellow, red, and brown on the bottom, green, red, and yellow on the top. So that leaves me with this space in the middle. I did set this aside to dry for a period of time before adding all of my stuff on top of it, because otherwise, paint would have been everywhere. Once it was dry, I then printed off my 2 pictures that you see here. One, gosh, I don't even remember the sizes of them, but one is probably somewhere close to a 3x4. It's definitely smaller than that, but it has a very similar scale in terms of the width and the height. And then I have another photo that I printed even smaller, and I'm going to layer them one on top of the other. The larger photo is one where Izzy and I were laying down in the leaves. We were joking around, and I said something to her like, I don't know, I made a joke to her, and her response was to lean over and lick my face. And I was taking some pictures of us as we were laying there on the ground. And after she did that, we were both just cracking up, and I snapped a couple photos as we were laying there and got this one that I just love. It's one of those things where it's not the best angle photo of myself. Like, it's not me in my most, I don't know, like, professionally photographed look, like it's not my best photo in terms of the way that I look and the angle it's taken from. However, it is a photo where there is joy, like real, true, raw joy on both of our faces. And that to me is more beautiful than any perfectly posed picture I could take. So I loved it. I just loved this photo. That's why that one goes onto the page. So that is the first one. The smaller picture is one of Izzy catching leaves in her coat, and she's just cracking up as she's trying to do it. And I just loved it. These pictures just make me feel so good inside, because they are moments where we stopped what we were doing for the day and we went and we played together and we connected together and we just had a really good time. And having that documented for my sake, so I can look at this and remember the joy that I feel in these moments, but also for my kids' sake, for them to look back at this and see these moments where we experienced joy like this together. That is why I do what I do. That is why I tell the stories that I tell. I want them to know that our lives are full of joy and that we can take moments out of our day to find pockets of joy. Okay, so anyway, side tangent there, right? Continuing here, what else have I done? Okay, so I've added also an older chipboard piece that I had forever that says leaf play. How freaking perfect is that, right? Then I printed off my journaling and I cut it down into strips because I didn't want to put a block of paper on top of this print that I made. So by cutting that into strips, separating it out and putting it down on the paper, I can still see parts of the leaf prints behind it, and I think that looks really awesome. Then to go along with this idea of texture, I'm also cutting some of my older wood veneer pieces into a smaller. So I've got circles that had some leaves in them, and I figured why not see if I can cut the leaf out of the circle and make it a smaller embellishment and add that on the page. So you'll see me add a couple of those in the upper right-hand corner there. And then I also added a number 11, which is from a chipboard set from Allie. I think that's one from the Storytelling Basics collection. I felt like the number 11 needed just something extra down there, so I do pull out a black tiny phrase sticker. I'm going to trim it down because it felt a little too thick for that spot. So I'll put that down across the number 11. And then later I will add another one up at the top of the photo just to bring in a little bit more of that black. So then we've got the black on the tiny phrase sticker, the black in the text of my journaling, and then we'll have some black at the top of the photo of Izzy and I laying down laughing, which I'll layer in with some of these wood veneer leaves as well. You may also notice that I have offset the pictures and the journaling to the left side of the page. So I'm being careful not to add things into the direct middle because I am going to hole punch the right side of the page and add this into the spiral binding. And I didn't want to punch into those photos. I wanted them to be separate from that. So in a lot of these layouts that you'll see me put together, that is something I'm staying very conscious of. I don't want to accidentally hole punch something when, I want it to be more visible. However, as I say that, I also think I put some of those wood veneer leaves a little too close. Those will probably end up being punched through, at least one of them. So, oh well. I can't bring them back up. They are where they are, where it fits, it sticks, I guess, and it's just going down. So there is the second little black piece, and then we call this layout done. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed seeing how this layout came together today. If you did, I would love a thumbs up on this video down below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm going to be back with story number 12 very soon. Until then, hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye, friends.